What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first ever DFH locker room talk show slash whatever. I'm here with Go James Bot Go,
Hey guys, how's it going?
and we're here to talk about the RL scene and mostly esports related, but we'll be talking about Rocket League in general as well. The big news this week, we'll be talking about the RLCS and mostly NA this week.
Wait,
If
what's
we
the RLCS?
It's some
No, I'm
some
just
small tournament,
yeah.
$75. No.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, no, I'll
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
look that up.
Exactly, right? But yeah, so we'll be talking mostly RLCS and the NA scene this week. If we do have a next week, then we'll probably be talking more about RLCS and Europe as well. So let's just get right into it, James. So this RLCS, like I don't know if you heard, but signups started yesterday,
Yes.
and as of last night, there was already 4,300 signups.
Are you kidding me?
And yeah,
Oh my goodness.
so that's individuals, but
Okay, but
still, that's
divided by
more
three.
than exactly. That's
And this is a
1,500
double
teams.
elimination tournament, right?
I know. Like,
Oh my gosh.
like it's gonna be a long weekend. That first
Yeah.
weekend. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that since groups is 2 weekends, that they didn't have more teams in it. Like that's what I was surprised about mostly because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, but I guess like that's gonna be their feature weeks where it's like good matchups over
Yeah.
and over.
And I
But
think
like, but the open qualifier, like that's gonna take a while.
yeah,
It'll take a while.
that because of the double elimination format, I
Mhm.
honestly don't know how it will be able to get completed in that time frame unless they have a hyperbolic time chamber on hand ready to go where everyone can go in there and play their matches. Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work out. We'll see. But I guess one of the things to point out though is that the rules have been updating and changing a little bit. So maybe we'll see a little bit of changes come in here and there. But 4,300 people is insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, so it is only one weekend, and I'm not sure how they're going to do it yet, but my suggestion would be only do winners bracket on one day to make it less confusing. Like make that Saturday and then do the losers on Sunday. Would probably make the most sense because it's going to be insane. Like that first round is going to be so big on both sides. I assume they would start them at different times, but we're talking about Twitch here and they want to broadcast it and they might want to broadcast both Europe and NA around the same time, like the quality games. So they might actually happen at the same time, which would be insane. Which means probably a super late night for Europe and maybe an early day for North America.
Yeah.
But
So that's like 1,000 teams though, like over 1,000 teams.
yeah,
So
and then
and
split
over
into
a
two
thousand
regions.
teams,
But
yeah. And oh, okay, I guess so. If it's total, all
yeah.
right.
But
So
that's only
that
day one though.
okay. Oh
It's only
yeah.
day one signups, and we still have probably what 2 or 3 weeks of signups. So once teams are organized, like I know most of the top teams probably haven't even bothered to sign up yet because they're just waiting it out. But that's gonna
Wow.
it's gonna be insane. Like players are not happy about best of three because best of three is rough. But if you're gonna have that many teams, at some point you have to make it best of three, I guess.
Yeah. Just when you're talking about that quantity, every
Yeah.
extra game is getting compounded. Compounding the length of that whole qualifier. So it's understandable. It's definitely, like you're saying, a lot scarier or a lot less desirable and it's the same. And if you guys are wondering why, like, why do we not like best of threes compared to best of five or best of seven? It's because the fewer games you play, the more randomness can affect the outcome of the match. So like if you have like some really bad bounces and you lose a game and then you just play bad another game and you lose two, you're out of it. Whereas, the more games that you play, generally the better team comes out on top. So that's why you see more of grand finals like the RLC Pro League. The grand finals were best of nine, just to make sure that the best team won. So best of three is a little bit scary, but workable, I'd say.
Yeah, now the other argument is, all right, so you lose one best of three, you're still in it. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is only 8 teams make it out of this. So if you do wind up losing one of those sets, you might face another really good team
Mm-hmm.
before you're in that top 8. And that's why people are a little bit more upset. Because, like, yeah, you have 2 tries at it, but you might get matched up against a really good team in the
Yeah.
losers bracket. And then only one of them can make it. Like, 2 top
You
8
play
teams.
Cosmic round one, and then you run into
Yeah.
like a Vex or Mocket or some of these other teams. Like if we ran into one of those guys early in the losers bracket, that would be pretty disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. Now they haven't said anything about seeding. Supposedly, like it's gonna be all random. I'm hoping they wait it a bit, maybe try and figure out who they think are the top 16 teams, and at least give them seeds, and then everyone else, just throw them to the wolves and see what happens. Because, like, if it is completely random, like, there could be a chance that Cosmic Kings play first round with like a double tap and Vex right next to them playing each other. So then only one of those 4 can make it out this early, and or I mean 2 out of the 4, I guess. But it just seems rough.
And hopefully, like with how much that there's been done by like by yourself and Cloud and Shaltis, Doomsy, Dirk, all the guys on the power rankings committee. Those power rankings have been out for a long time, and they are always posting like the bubble teams. And there's a pretty consistent history of the top teams. So I hope they at least will trust that information and use that in the seeding. Because like you're saying, we like having those types of matchups round 1 would be really disappointing as someone who follows the scene really closely. You know, I want to see all those teams have a good shot at making it through and not have to like play each other first round. That would be really crappy.
Yeah, like plus it's like only top 8 get points at all. So it's like if you don't make that qualifier 1, you have to do really well in qualifier 2 to have a shot. So it's gonna be rough. But yeah, like I hope they even if they don't take like power rankings, but like I hope they just like collect a bunch of people and like, hey, like if you had to rank like a top committee. 16, can you rank them? And like, you know, obviously I would love to do that, but like I could see why they might not want me because I'm still related to Cosmic, like in a way. So
they could just ignore all of your feedback regarding Cosmic.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know, but like I would hope they would trust me enough to do it. But you know, so that would be nice. So hopefully they seed at least somewhat, but we'll see. But yeah, best of 3s, man. That's gonna be intense though to watch because every game matters. Like if you get like a bad bounce in one game and lose because of it, it's like. You know, like one bad 50-50 can make you lose a game, and if you get like 2 or 3 of those in one game, that's usually like even a worse team can beat like another team in a best of 1. So if that happens twice,
it happens sometimes. You just can't put it in.
But then so also with the RLCS, like we weren't sure like if it was going to be regional because they never really said, and finally they did say that it would be North America only and Europe only, which is a smart move, I think.
Yes. Absolutely. Dealing with multiple servers and pings and everything like that just complicates it way too much. And it would be such a shame to have to, you know, not be able to make it to the RLCS because of ping issues. So I'm a big fan of that decision to keep it split up between the regions, at least till the LAN final.
Yeah. Now, the only thing, so like the reason why I like it a lot is because US West and Europe would just not be able to play well at all together. Like we've seen Waffle play on Europe servers and he gets like 200 ping. Somehow he pulls it off, but I think most players can't. And it's like it just seems more fair. So yeah, sure, Europe is the better region. Like maybe their 5th or 6th team is better than the 4th North America team, but like I don't know, like why not give a region top 4 in each? It's just a lot easier to do it that way.
I agree.
Yeah. Then also there is the age factor, the scrub killer rule, as people have called it. So for North America side, there's 2 players that this kind of screws over. There's Prime Thunder, who was planning on making a team with Ozzy, right?
Yep.
And then we weren't sure the 3rd yet, but they were definitely like an on the border top 10 team, and Prime's a really good player. So that sucks for him. He's turning 15, I think, in August. So I don't even think he'll be able to do RLCS qualifier 2 or like the next RLCS. And then who else is there?
I think there's also Steve Gates. Steve Gates is one of the, he's one of the best players in North America, in my opinion, probably in the top 15 of players. And he was on Team 2ARC with Kazoo and Suka, I believe, were the other players. So 2ARC is going to be struggling without Steve Gates. I don't know what their plan is, but those two teams I think are the most notable teams, and probably people watching this video will be instantly correcting us if we're
with
wrong.
the extra players.
But those are the 2 premier players that cannot compete because of the age restriction.
Hey James, excuse me. So I'm 13. I'm Prospect Elite. I cannot play in this. I'm really upset. But yeah, like Steve Gates is also like people knew him as more of like I wouldn't call it a hard carry on 2ARC, but he was definitely their probably best player or the best offensive player at least. Yeah. Yep. So that's really going to hurt 2ARC's chances. Like nothing against the other two members, but hopefully they can find a suitable third and still give it a good go.
Yeah, and it's understandable why Psyonix is doing this, and I think like a lot of other games, it's even 18 or 16 for the age limits of competing, and it's a lot of it is because you don't want to incentivize people of that age to not focus on school and focus on things that they should be focusing on in their life at that time, and also like maturity also plays into it. But there's a lot of mature players at that age, but mainly is just making sure that and Cloud Fuel, if you guys go check out the RLCS mega thread on Reddit, he has a really good explanation of why this age limit is in place. So, and I personally, I think I agree with it. It is a tough situation because when you are a younger person, it definitely sucks to not be able to compete in this big tournament, but it's for the right reasons. And Prime and Steve, I think just a year, they'll be ready to go. And then when they do come out and are able to compete, they'll be killing it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The only problem is hopefully they keep with it. Like they don't get like upset about this and then don't play as much or something. But hopefully they keep with it.
And maybe if there was a little bit of flexibility, like if the parents support it as well, maybe there's some room for that. Because I guess putting it in the hands of the parents, might be also an acceptable thing. If the parents are supportive, I would trust the parents to do the right thing. So, but we'll see what they come up with. This one has been a pretty hot topic, and so because of the time that limitations we're dealing with, though, before this first online qualifier, I don't know how much discussion will be able to influence this go around. But if people feel really passionate about it, maybe Psyonix could budge on it a little bit and come up with some exceptions to that rule. But probably I don't see that happening for this first round.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's just tough too. There's probably like other laws that like child laborers and all that stuff that we're not really sure exactly how it goes. Plus, with all the European countries, like there's different rules in every single one of those countries. So it's like they probably chose 15 as like the safe number where like
lowest common denominator.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
we'll see. But then the other interesting thing is, so Psyonix, like it doesn't say in the rules per se, but like usually when you get invited to a LAN, they pay for your trip, like out there and stuff, because they want all the teams to show up. The thing is, if you're 15, I think 15 or 16, maybe also 17, you have to bring a parent with you. So that's gonna be weird. Like, does Psyonix pay for that parent?
Yeah,
I guess they would have to.
Situation.
But yeah, it's really weird. So I would assume Psyonix would also pay for the parent to come out. But yeah, like it's strange. Like that makes sense too, because like you don't want like underage kids just by themselves or whatever. So
yeah, with a sticky note that says "Take me to the RLC Grand Finals."
Yeah, right. Please,
Awesome.
I have to win. But yeah, so on that, we're gonna go to my soapbox. I'm gonna go stand up, get on my soapbox. My problems with the rules. There's a lot of problems right now. They're still updating them though. So like I'm not going to get too crazy about it because I know that I've talked to Corey a bit and he's like, yeah, they're still negotiable rules and we're still trying to figure them out. So here's the rules that I absolutely hate. First rule, obviously, like as you could tell from the Pro League with Cosmic, there's going to be no Wasteland in the open stage at all because it's only DFH through the open stage, and then teams can ban maps in the group stage. Now, there's really no point of banning maps when there's 2 maps in the entire game, and one of them has 12 variations. So it's like, all right, I banned a normal map. Oh wait, there's 11 more that you can choose from.
Well, To be fair, on that point, I agree with you. But there are some maps like DFH Stormy or whatever, where like some of those maps don't. People's computers cannot play them as well. So I could see some normal maps getting banned, but it's true. Like in terms of the bounces on most people's computers, there's only 2 variations. There's Wasteland, and then there's the normal standard format map.
Now, to be fair, they probably should just ban the Stormy maps, just like. Overall, so it's a little bit more fair for everyone because you shouldn't have to ban a map because you can't play it well, like it's not optimized. So personally, yeah, like I would take those out. But like if I was on a team, I'd be like, hey, if we have good PCs, let's pick Stormies, like obviously, because why not? But yeah, with like teams being able to ban, it basically means no team should even bother with Wasteland because why practice Wasteland? Because if you get good at it, then a team's just going to ban you on it. So instead, just don't practice it at all and ban it every time. So hopefully they take away bans. Like they're talking about it, so then Wasteland can still be played, and then teams that excel at it can actually pick it. Plus, it's only one game out of the 5 for group stage. So there's also a thing with the rules, actually. The group stage wording is just absolute garbage. Here, let me read you the group stage rules. Just one sentence from it.
Okay.
It's fantastic. All right, let me find it. Okay, all group stage matches will be a series of matches where the successful team wins 3 out of 5 games in the match, then in parentheses, best of 5 matches. So that's 4 times they say match in one sentence. And they mean both the complete best of 5 and individual games. Like, you got to make different words for individual games and the entire series. Like, it just...
Yeah.
I
so
honestly
are they
don't
saying
know
that
what it
there's a
means.
best of 5 matches? So like that's 3. You need to get 3 times 5 or whatever. 3
Yeah,
times
yeah,
3.
win
So
3 out of
9.
5.
You have to
Well,
win.
win 3 out of
confusing.
5 matches, but then are you 1-0 or are you 3-0 like in the group stage? So I talked to Corey about this, and he said that was actually just a bad copy pasta, like in his words.
Okay. Okay.
And supposedly, like it is going to be a set of 5 games, kind of like how the pro leagues have been, and
Okay.
each game will count. Which I'm like,
Oh,
that's
thank
great.
goodness.
Like I think that helps a ton because, like, say you're like on the border of like 6th or 7th.
If you lose every round, 3-2.
Exactly. Like you should get some credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially like say Double Tap loses to Cosmic 3-2 and then like Cosmic beats Vex 3-0. Like that should be a difference. Like Double
Yeah, we
Tap
should
should
get
be
more
ahead.
credit than like we should be ahead of X in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that it's going to be a set of 5 plus that's good for like scheduling. Because then you know, all right, there's going to be 5 games played. Like, of course, there could be long overtimes or a ton of goals in a game, but at least you know generally when you're going to play instead of like, is this going to be 3 games or 5? Like, that is a much bigger difference than just a long overtime.
Yes.
So that's good. So they did straighten that up with me. I assume they'll update that eventually in the rules, and these rules are going to be updated like as we go before it starts. We also don't know the date of when this starts. The rumors are April 15th. That weekend is when it starts. Now, one big problem is the following weekend, which would be group stage, is PAX.
Yes. Oh.
So, James, can you just mention players that are supposed to go to PAX?
Yeah, so among some of the players that are going to PAX, hold on, let me bring up my list here.
Oh,
As
he's got a
I know,
list.
at least, yeah, so it's myself, you,
Mm-hmm.
Classics, Seismic White, Kyle Mask, Low Five, Chad, who else? Gosh, there's even
Crow.
Kronovi, yeah,
will be
obviously.
there.
Rizzo's going to be there as well. So like all these players who are on teams that have legitimate
teams,
shots,
generally,
yeah,
yeah.
at making it to the group stages are going to be out at PAX during the RLCS event, which is a big bummer because I already dropped like $280 on PAX tickets.
Mhm.
And thank goodness I haven't bought my plane flight yet or my plane ticket yet, but I really still want to go. So maybe, maybe if they have like some kind of pro lounge or Rocket League lounge where we can go and compete at PAX, I'd be fine with that. But it is a huge bummer that there's overlap.
Yeah. Plus, like, even if you could play, like, say we had to go to like hotel Wi-Fi's and like, so we have a few people like in different hotels. We probably have to test like every hotel's like internet and see which one's best, and then have them all go there.
Oh my
Problem
gosh.
is, it's Saturday and Sunday like group stage games, and they're probably gonna have to be there at certain times, so they're just not gonna be able to go to the actual PAX event, which would really suck.
Yeah.
Like I know Lo-Fi said he would be out like $1,500 if he's not going to PAX.
Yeah.
So, because there's no refunds on his hotel, I think, and his flight or whatever. So, hopefully they take that weekend off. We're trying to talk to him
they
about
can
it,
move
but,
around. That would
but
be
I understand from Twitch's point of view. It's like, we have to hit the schedule, but it definitely sucks. And like, especially with this being last minute and they haven't set dates. Hopefully,
Yeah, and like this was going to be like the Rocket League mecca, like all of we're all doing our pilgrimage over to PAX, and we're all going to meet each other and hang out, and we've been getting psyched up about it. We've had our Skype chat going for a long time now, so it would just be pretty deflating to not be able to go through with that or to have that affected.
Yeah, for sure. Some other rules that I hated. So we'll get back on my soapbox. We'll talk about that. For North America specifically, there's two servers. Obviously, there's US West and US East. Now, what they have said in the rules is the default server, no matter what, is US East unless both teams agree. Well, if you're playing a West team and you're on the East, you're not going to agree to go on West server. You're like, no, we're going to play on East for the whole thing. They probably should be like, hey, one game on each home server, and then maybe goal differential for the last, and if it's tied, then make it US East. But I could see why maybe like they don't want server switches because people don't follow rules anyway.
And
But
it makes it go smoother if you don't have to change
Yeah.
any settings and things like that.
But the problem is, it's like it's for so much money that like it's kind of unfair for the West teams to have to deal with just playing on East. So it's tough because there's so many teams, and so then rules like no one follows them, and then but at the same time, like it's really unfair for the West team. So that kind of sucks, but it's definitely a tough case.
And also on top of that, I don't know if it's like just all made up in our minds, but the West servers for some reason have a really bad rap.
Yes,
Like
they do.
online, like everybody's like, West servers are trash. Let's play on East. So I don't know if that's based on any type of reality, but it is a common perception for players in Rocket League. Even though like pings might be lower on West, people think that more packets are getting dropped or there's like that server lag. Even though if it's not reflected in the ping, it just seems worse. But I'm an East player, and I like I'm one of those people that I will never agree to play on West because
Exactly. Yeah, there's no point.
I've had bad experiences on West in the past. Whether that's based on reality or not, it doesn't matter. That's the way my brain is right now. But yeah, so it is a bummer for those West teams. But me being East, I'm selfishly happy about that rule.
Yeah, right. Plus, it's a best of three, so it's like no East teams gonna be like, yeah, we'll play one on West because then if it goes to that game three and you get a couple weird 50-50s, then you're out, or at least you go into the lower bracket, which no one wants to do. So
No.
Then also another thing I hate is the online finals are 4 teams. So I was like, all right, so maybe it'll be longer series. It's only best of 7 for the semis and then finals and third place game. Like when it's this big of an event, like best of 9, maybe even best of 11. Like especially because the games are so short compared to like other esports, like League of Legends
series is so
Yeah, like League of Legends, like games take anywhere from 30 to like an hour
for one
and
game.
That's exactly for one game, and they do best of 5s. Of course, my phone is ringing now. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, it's Corey. He's saying,
yeah, right?
Stop trash talking our rules, right?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? Yeah, please don't give Corey my number, please. No. But yeah, so we would have liked if it was best of 9 at least, but. So that kind of sucks. Plus, it kind of ruins the hype a little bit. Plus, it would be a short day, I think, for the online finals because there's only going to be 4 matches per region. So I guess they'll just like link them all together. So I guess it'll be a little bit longer because of Europe. But
yeah, I could see best of 9. I'd feel really happy about best of 9. Best of 7 is I feel like it's workable, but like you're saying, a best of 7, if it's 3-0, that's like 20 minutes, it could be a 20-minute situation.
Well, 4-0, but yeah.
4-0, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, maybe like 25 minutes, but yeah. So best of 9 maybe, but I mean, that's a small thing in the grand scheme of things, but I figured I'll let it know. All right, so I'm off my soapbox. I think we're done with all the rules for now until they update them. We'll have updates next week if we come back for this, but you want to take this next topic? James?
Yes, sure. Oh wait, with teams or with
not with teams, with
okay,
Gambit.
yes, the next situation. Yeah, so those of you guys who have not been paying attention too closely as to what's going on, there was a situation where someone at Psyonix was over at the Game Developer Conference, and there was a presentation going on where Psyonix was giving a presentation about this. It was essentially the journey of Rocket League, like how they came to where they are and experienced all the success. And they were giving a presentation to their peers. Somebody else from Psyonix was taking pictures of these slides and tweeting it out so we could see it as the community, and it'd be really cool. Well, one of the slides was about some very strong feedback regarding the direction Rocket League was taking regarding the Rocket League versus SARP, the old previous game. Well, that tweet got out, and people were like, "Who is the player saying that Rocket League, is not good? The direction isn't good." And people found out, and kind of there was a witch hunt going on, and they found out that it was Gambit. So Gambit got a lot of hate from the community, from people regarding that, and he decided to take a hiatus from competitive Rocket League. And so that's a pretty huge deal, because Gambit is on par with Cronovi.
Yeah, arguably number one in NA. Yeah,
for the best in NA. So that has been a pretty interesting situation. And I have my own opinions, but Gibbs, what was your reaction to that situation?
Sure. So let's bring it back. Like, I've been around since the Alpha and SARP and all those days. So I knew Pie Man, like, or Gambit for a while. And when he made those comments, obviously, like, everyone was like, dude. Like, I understand if you want more maps. Like, I wanted more maps too. Like if you go to the forum itself, like, I'm there saying Cosmic or Riot, which I'm still saying today. So, please, let's bring back Cosmic. Come on. But yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of his words back then, but he hasn't said anything since. So it was kind of like, time heals all wounds. And I was like, all right, like, he's doing better. Like, sure, like, he didn't apologize, but at the same time, it was so long ago. At this point, it really doesn't matter. But now that it gets brought back up, so like everyone sees it now as like if it was just posted today, which obviously like it wasn't. It was posted like 9 months ago.
And people who really love Rocket League, those are the people who are going to be seeing this, because that it got posted to Reddit. So the people who are going and checking the Rocket League subreddit and like following this stuff are obviously the people who are super passionate about Rocket League and love it. So that kind of played into it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, so again, like, I have no problem with Gambit. Like, I did for a little while, just, until like time heals all wounds, but it just kind of sucked how it came out. And of course, like, Gambit tried to defend himself again, which probably wasn't the best idea. Maybe like he could have been like, well, the points I made are still valid, but I shouldn't have said them in such a, like, terrible way, I guess. Would have been like the perfect situation. And then probably everyone would have been like, yeah, Gambit, then, like everything's good, But at the same time, Psyonix probably shouldn't have been posting pictures of that slide. But I think it was kind of like a miscommunication of like, hey, we're going to have the slide in that's supposed to be a little bit more private.
Yeah, and I think the situation too is that the employee that did that was newer and didn't have the history and the backdrop of that particular post. So like he's just, I was really appreciating all these posts, because to me it was incredibly interesting to see how Psyonix as a developer, what their point of view was on the journey of Rocket League and how they share that with their peers, with other game developers. It was very, very interesting to me. I saw that slide and I honestly, didn't think too much of it. Like, I had known about the history and I'm like, all right, they're just talking about how they as a company had to face some very real criticism of the direction that they're taking, like something to the point where you might second guess yourself. So to me, I understood it in that context, and I was bummed to see as many people kind of give him hate, because I will use this as an example. I played a lot of Halo. I loved Halo. I played Halo 1. I went to LANs. I played Halo 2. I went to LANs, competed in tournaments, and the same for 3. I had it in my blood. I absolutely loved Halo. When Reach came out and they had Recoil and Bloom and Sprint and Shield Lock, I lost my shit. Like, I was so mad. I was so angry that I said that to my friends. Like, I'm like, do not buy this new Halo. It is crap. Like, I hate it, because I loved the old Halo so much. And to me, like, I had so many hours of just pure fun and joy with my friends. And I felt like the core of the game that I loved was under assault. And I had the same reaction. So I can see where Gambit is coming from. He loves SARP. He loved the way that game played, and Rocket League changed to the core the experience that you have. And he was trying to defend and protect in the way that he felt was best, which some people may disagree with, but he was trying to defend the kind of game that he loved. So I understand his point of view going through that with Halo. And I think people in the community should really not be as upset about it, because we should all, like, obviously we're talking about Rocket League. Lots of players are under certain age. So, you're going to have different levels of maturity. And maturity doesn't necessarily have to do with age, but it is an influencer. But everybody's going to be entitled to their own opinions, and do not assault somebody. And it goes for both sides, like
For
definitely
sure.
don't assault people for having a different opinion than you because you think Rocket League stinks, or if it's really good, whatever. But I can understand where he's come from, and hopefully people can also kind of have that point of view moving into it. And I hope Gambit comes back because
Oh yeah, for sure,
I
for sure.
I love watching him play. I think he is a phenomenal player.
His air
And
dribbles, man.
yeah,
Beastly.
the air dribbles. And
Beast.
he's scared. He's like one of the only players, like, because I play a lot of solo threes as well. And when I got Gambit and solo threes, it scared me. Like, he was one of the few people that actually scares me.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I hope he comes back.
Like when I was playing on Cosmic, obviously, anytime we had to play Gambit, we're like, God fucking damn it. Like, just watch out for Gambit. Everyone else, who cares? Just watch out when Gambit has the ball. Don't let him air dribble or any of that. Because like I'm sitting in the back, I'm like, Crower said, you better fuck him up. Because I don't want to deal with this air dribble business. But yeah, for sure. Well said, for sure. But like he said it a little too harshly, like in my mind. But again, it was 9 months ago. So he doesn't have to apologize for what he did. But I understand where it's coming from. Like, hopefully now he realizes, hey, like, it's a bigger scene, and he won't do that again, which I don't think he would, because he's been great since, like, the game came out. So that was more of, like, a private thing between, like, maybe, like, 50 of us, maybe 100.
It was a smaller community. You guys were really close.
Yeah.
And
so
also,
a little different, but
yeah, you too, Gibbs. And it's pretty interesting. Like, you and Kronovi and Gambit, you guys have kind of been thrust into a spotlight and been made to be community figures, whether you've been asking for it or not. So
yeah, exactly. Like, some people is fine with that. Like, I'm fine with that, obviously. And I think Crow is, for the most part. Like, sometimes I think Crow's, but whatever. Like, that's a whole nother thing. But, like it seems like Gambit is definitely a more private person. Because he didn't even stream that much when he was playing and stuff like that. So, like, I could see why. But at the same time, like, if you're going to be really good at this game now, you have to know that the public spotlight is going to be on you. And you have to be able to handle that. So that's where I see with Gambit, like, if he does come back, he has to know that there's going to be a huge spotlight on you, so anything you say will be heard by thousands of people, and some of them won't forget, and it's the internet, so there's going to be people, like, in your Twitch chat that are, like, calling you names and all that stuff. Like, like, I've had to deal with that a ton, Crow's had to deal with that a ton, and it's just, the way it is. Like, you just got to have know that 99% of the people are great, and the 1% are just assholes.
Every single time that we cast Rocket League Central, there's somebody who's like, these casters suck. Like,
exactly.
Every single time.
But just know that's like the 1%. So just ignore them. Like, I always ban people right away. Like, if they even start saying anything wrong, I'm like, I don't have time for this. Like, there's no time. I'd rather have fun with the other 99% of the people. So, you just got to be able to like endure the spotlight, and especially like if you go to the LAN, like there's going to be probably even more with like player interviews and all that stuff. So, just like don't take the criticism too harshly. Like, even like myself, like when I post on YouTube, like our games, like so I'll post a loss, and if I could, if I played like shit. Like, I know I played like shit, so I don't have to read 100 comments like, damn, you played like crap. So I just don't really look at those comments usually. It's like, it's just the way you got to go. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, just ignore it and move on. And it's always people that are like, challenger level that are like, oh my God, you're awful. It's like, who cares?
People who want,
it doesn't matter. But yeah, so again, like I hope Gambit comes back for sure. And like he's definitely a big member of the North America scene. So,
and we have NA pride, like honestly, and maybe this will be a good transition, yes. But I want NA to be on top. I love EU. I love those guys over there. Maestro, Greasy, Remco, Mike, Marky. I love those guys, but I have some North American pride. I want NA on top. So I guess that could be a good transition into our next segment.
Sure. So let's go team rumors. So these would be the teams that are trying to compete with the top of Europe. And so first, obviously, the big question mark. Never heard of this team before. I don't know. Supposedly, like iBUYPOWER Cosmic. Like, who's their team going to be? So the biggest rumor was Crow, Lachinio, and Gambit. And obviously, with Gambit going away, like I predict he'll come back. And let's just say, for argument's sake, for this thing, like I'm not going to say like officially or anything, that is a team. Maybe it's not even called iBUYPOWER Cosmic. Maybe it's some other team and Crow leaves iBUYPOWER. Who cares?
Yeah, maybe it's Cosmic Aftershock again.
Yeah, like exactly. But but that is a team, we'll say, for these arguments. But, like, so the real question is, like, is that the NA super team?
To me, as a player, we actually had the opportunity, me, Digital, and Espeon. I'm on Team Double Tap. Currently, we're 5th ranked in NA based on the last power rankings, but there's been a couple of breaks between the weeks. But we played Kronovi, Lichinio, and Gambit in matchmaking, and they are insane. They are so fast. They get to every ball first. They do sometimes push out a little bit too far, but
Yeah.
honestly, I think that this team is the hands down best shot that North America has to win the RLCS.
Yeah, like I think even for the best of 3 format, like their mechanics are so good that they don't even have to use teamwork, and they would probably just beat everyone for the most part until you get to like maybe a Kings, but they probably wouldn't even play Kings if it's top 8, like go to groups. But like I don't see them losing to a bad team just because they can get to the ball so quickly that they can just control the ball like in the other end of the field for as long as they want until they score.
Yeah.
Like they do have to worry about like going out a little bit too far, like or doing anything too crazy. Like if they get baited into a really awesome aerial and 2 of them go because they're like, well, fuck it, like oh we can score this, you know, like we can dunk this from any angle. Then they would have trouble. But I think like as they play more together, that would get fixed and be like, all right, like I know that Gambit's going to go up for this aerial or Crow's going to go up for this one, you know. But for the most part, yeah, like their mechanics are so good that I don't see them losing to a bad team, and they should easily make group stage.
Yeah,
I think for
I don't
both
think
qualifiers.
Yeah, they're not going to have any issues with that. One of the things too that they were really good at is because they're getting to these balls first and they are so mechanically sound, they get a lot of really crazy passes into the mid. So if they lose a game, I think they're going to be very high scoring games because they push out too far and get long goals scored on them. But yeah, like you were saying, they're so mechanically solid that I don't see them struggling through group stages at all. You were spot on.
Yeah. Plus, like just making group stage or whatever, but then it's best of 5, and it's like it's gonna be really hard to beat them in a best of 5 or even a set of 5, I guess you should say. But the only thing I could see is like they're probably arguably top 3 like NA players, roughly. You know, like there's some arguments in there, but not all 3 are gonna shine every single game. So their egos are definitely gonna have to like take a check. You know, like most fans are gonna be like, oh, like Lichinio is like the best because he's the one getting the goals. But it's like, well, there's a lot of work that goes into goals from Crow and Gambit or something like that. Like that's what happened during Mocket. I think like Latch was getting most of the goals because he was like the midfield waiting for the like great opportunity,
for the pass, waiting for the 50-50 win from his teammates to go up.
Yeah, like exactly. So like pretty much every one of them is gonna have to take a reality check on like, oh, I'm the greatest ever or whatever, because at least one of the 3 is probably going to lose the argument for top 5 NA just because of his stats on the team, like unless they blow everyone out. But it's hard to do that. Like it's hard to have 3 people get like amazing stats all the time. So someone's gonna have to play a more supportive type role, and it won't see the stats as much. Yeah, but like if they can get through that and figure it out, and like they should just be fine.
Yeah, and they're so good in net too. Like I could see Gambit kind of playing a role like that. They're so good in net. Like you can put shots on, and because of their mechanical skill, they can cover so much of the net that it's insane. So they're really hard to score. When we did score, it was because they pushed out, not because they whipped a save.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then the other role for Cosmic is myself going to coach. Now the real question, like I want to ask you, James, like does it matter? Like, do you think coaches matter at all?
So I think this is something that I'm going to stay in close contact with you because I find it quite interesting. I wonder, will they let online coaches be a thing? You know, like as a coach, you can provide a lot of value, in my opinion, because if you go into that bird's eye view in an online match, you're sitting in on TeamSpeak, you can time all of the corner boosts. It takes 10 seconds once a corner boost is up to get it back again. Yeah. So you could let people know that information, which is something that is very valuable and could provide value. Also, letting people know when there's a free open net. A lot of times people on the team, they may not see it because of their camera settings or whatever. Yeah. As a coach, you would be able to call that out every single time. So I think coaching has a spot, but will it be allowed, and will it also translate to the online or to the LAN qualifiers? I don't know. But I think it does matter. And I think there is a role for coaching, but it's still so young and early in the game. I don't know what the extent of that could be. But as you're moving into this coaching role.
Yeah.
You obviously thought about this for a bit. What do you think that, what's your opinion on it? What do you think that you will be doing in this coaching position?
So, so for coaching the way that you put it with the whole being in game, I actually hate that. I hope that doesn't happen. Like, I think I could do it, obviously. Like, that's fine. But I think that creates a barrier from just normal rank play or normal teams compared to the competitive teams. Because not every team's going to have a fourth player that doesn't want to play and wants to spectate in games and call things out. So I think that creates a barrier between the like amateur teams and the professional teams. Plus, like, it's part of the skill involved is knowing where everyone's going to be, like just game sense in general. So I think the players would lose out like on a little bit of that skill because like I could easily call out that it's like, oh, you're alone while the other two are going back for boosts and waste time. But it's like the team should be doing that themselves. So I think that's more of a team thing. For me, for coaching, like personally, like I don't think I'm going to be doing a ton of like, hey, work on this because I'm like say I have these top three players, like I don't really have to do that, but like it's more about like opponent scouting because like different players have different tendencies, and that even varies month to month. And like so I could like scout, like say we get into group stage, and I'm thinking, all right, these three teams are our problem teams. The other three probably won't focus on too much, but like say it's like a Kings Urban. It's like, oh, this month Jacob's been trying to do a lot more risky wall things, and it's not really paying off. So maybe like if you see him go up the wall, maybe cheat up a little bit and get ready for a softer hit and stuff like that, and just do some scouting there. Maybe some face-off tactics of like they like to push it behind them. So if you win it behind you, make sure that your guy is going up really quickly and things like that. But it's also just like the fourth perspective of just playing like the game in general. Like if they start losing or whatever, like, oh, what did we do wrong? And like pretty much everyone has a different perspective. And I have a more unique perspective, I would think, from being a more defensive player. So I could put some insight into there. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I'm the coach and you have to do this. It would be more of like a democracy and be like, all right, maybe like this is going wrong. Try this or something like that. So I could see doing stuff like that. Yeah. But it's also just being like the manager and stuff like that. Because I was always
sure that people practice and things.
Yeah, like, and I was always the main contact with iBUYPOWER like anyway, so I think they don't want to lose that to begin with. So like I would still keep in good contacts with iBUYPOWER, make sure everything's going smoothly. Same thing with like them being like three huge egos. It's like make sure like all that keeps in check, or if someone's unhappy, then like instead of bringing it up to the players themselves, come to me as like a mediator, and then like we can work on it. Like that's always a useful thing. But yeah, like it'll probably be more of like a manager / coach, but like if they win the whole thing, I wouldn't be like, oh, Gibbs is best coach ever. It's like I'll have a smaller role than the three players, obviously, but like I think it does help, but it's it's not a huge help, but it could be the difference of like 2 games in a best of 7, or something like that.
Because one of the things too is like if you notice that a team's play style is always have 2 people up and there's one player in the back who's always getting the top clears, you could say, all right, just demo the person in the back all the time, take long shots, we'll risk it 2v2. So and I think. Like, I didn't really think about it until this conversation, but it seems like there's also like 2 camps of coaching. It's like the outside of the game coaching and the inside of the game coaching. I find it interesting that you say like, you don't like the idea of like players should be able to know when that stuff's coming up. They should be able to know positioning. That is a very interesting point, but I will counterpoint that with like Halo. One of the big things that coaches did in Halo was they timed power weapons. So there would be rocket launcher spawn, sniper rifle spawn, sword spawn, things like that would be on like 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes or whatever. And the coach would be the one managing that and informing the team. And even in Counter-Strike, I think they have coaches in that as well. I've seen people standing up behind them, kind of letting them know that, hey, like you're essentially, like you're saying, the coach is compensating for the player's lack of ability to communicate and keep track of things in game. And does that have a place in Rocket League? I think that is an interesting point. Maybe too much to get into right now, but just when you were talking about it, it was making me think of that.
Yeah. Well, one thing though with like Halo and stuff, like they didn't have a flyby view of the map, to my knowledge. Like they would only see what the player sees.
That is very true.
So that's big. like a huge difference between like Rocket League or not, because like I could call out, oh, their third just went for boost, like it's an open net for the next 2 seconds, like just throw it on net, when you might not be able to see that from any of the player views. So
yes, that's an interesting point.
But then it's also like another thing with coaching is like maybe like listening into their team comms, be like, hey, like Gambit's not talking that much, try and chirp up a bit more. Like you're the only one that knew it was a free net. You need to let them know. So instead of doing a weird dribble, they just throw it on net quickly.
Exactly.
So stuff like that. And then what coaching will look like in a LAN event, like I'm not sure. Like I would assume I wouldn't be up on stage or anything like that. Like maybe like before the games, like during our scouting or the like night before, and then after that, just let them go. Because unless I'm standing behind all three with their player views, but I doubt it. Because again, it's just that weird gap between professionals and amateurs. Plus, right now, you can only have 2 spectators. So you can't have me spectate right now, like in an online event.
Yeah, you'd have to be standing behind them.
Exactly. Yeah. So for online for right now, it's impossible. But
yes,
we'll see in the future. But I personally, like, I'm against being in the overview. But, whatever happens, happens. All right, so that's enough with iBUYPOWER Cosmic. Well, actually, one last thing. People have been asking me about casting and stuff like that. And I know, like, RLC, like, I'm great friends with RLC, so if I ever wanted to, like, for a smaller event, I would probably be allowed to, but I probably won't do too much casting. Like, my speech isn't perfect, so I don't think it would work well there. But I think for, like, an analyst desk, like, I think I have a lot of good insights. Like I pride myself on being one of the smarter players in Rocket League, because, like, as you could tell when I used to play, like, my mechanics are nowhere near as good as some of the other players, but I can still compete, like, with the best just by how I play. Yeah, exactly. Like, positioning and knowing my strengths, like, knowing weaknesses, stuff like that. So I think I have a lot of, like, input for that stuff. So, like, Psionics, like, if you're listening,
I wouldn't sell yourself short on the casting. It's honestly not as hard as you think it is. And there's like the play-by-play role, which does involve a lot of talking, and then there's the analysis role, which I think you could do quite well in. And trying to say, or not stutter or say things like and a and like all that stuff. That's something you can eliminate through practice. And, like really, we're not by any means doing any kind of professional casting at RLC yet. Like we're all doing it all for fun. But I wouldn't sell yourself short there. I think we could explore that. And there's a lot of stuff going on at RLC and even like with Pulsar Premier League and stuff like that. So I would love to see. I would be happy to play with you.
Oh, baby.
As analysis. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, right. All right. So enough about me. That was like a whole like section just about me. What the fuck,
Well,
like,
this is your channel. This is your
That's true, but who cares about me? We want to know about other teams that are coming to try and take those top 3 spots. So the next team. So let's just say Sad Junior's not on like iBUYPOWER Cosmic. There's a team coming around, supposedly Pluto, Sad, and Quinn. And I know, James, you've been scrimming them. So how do you feel about them?
Yes. Pluto, Sad, and Quinn. I think Pluto and Sad had a little bit of a rough start playing together. Like their styles weren't meshing very well. And they lost in Market. We were scrimming them before, and we started out and we were beating them. It was pretty good. But as the games kept going, they started meshing pretty well. And I think that team does have the capability to bust into the group stages. Now, I think we didn't get a chance to play them too much, but you can never count Sad and Pluto out, and especially when you're pairing up Quinn. Quinn he's very good at playing that catalyst role. He's not the one necessarily doing all these insane aerials, but he is a thinker. And he helps with the flow of the game, getting those passes made. And Pluto and Sad, if those guys are on their game, it is a fierce squad. So near the end of our scrims, they were beating us pretty much every time. So I think that this team does have a lot of potential, and hopefully they will stick together and make it an official RLCS team. I think they are, but you never know what's going to happen. But those guys, always contenders. Pluto, Sad, Quinn, they're contenders.
Yeah, like I think Quinn is actually underrated because he was under the Gambit microscope of like Orange Creamsicle, and I don't think people saw how good Quinn can be. But Quinn is definitely solid. And then, of course, Sad and Pluto, we know from Cosmic and from Untethered. Both of them are solid players. Sad was always like a playmaker type role. Like he would, like his role changed like depending on the game flow. And then Pluto was definitely super solid for Untethered. Like I hated him on his walls. Like he's really good off the
Mm-hmm.
walls. And like if they can just figure out like who's going for the ball, they have time too because it's a month long. Say qualifiers, like open qualifiers, at least are in about 3 weeks. So there's plenty of time for these teams to gel as long as they put the work in. And so I'm not too worried about team chemistry because because they'll probably figure it out in 3 weeks. And if they don't, then obviously that's a whole nother issue. But like this is definitely a challenger for top four. Like they're right on that cusp of making the land. Just depends on how open qualifiers go because we'll see if they can stay consistent because the teams that make it have to be super consistent to even make it to the group stage.
Yes.
And then from the group stage, you actually don't have to be as consistent because as long as you can win best of five or win like a majority there, then you'll probably be okay. But just getting to the group stage is going to be tough.
Consistency is super, super key. I mean, you see it all the time. There will be teams like an ESL and Mocket and the RLC stuff, or not RLCS, but the Rocket League, Rocket Royale, and Pro League not so much because that was kind of a one-time thing. But being consistent is so important. Making it to those finals, not going out like Orange Creamsicle when it used to be Quinn and Edwin and I forget who the third was, like Elmer Fudd. There was a while they had a bunch of different random thirds, but they would like get to the finals and like win or get second and third, and then there would be times where they went out round of 62 or round of 64, round of 128. When you're going into these online qualifiers for RLCS, that is not an option. Like you've got to continually be consistent, and consistency super, super important, and especially in a best of three. So we'll see how consistent those guys are. We haven't really seen them too much, so only time will tell.
And then some other teams, we got Flow, Husky, and Classics supposedly forming up to make a team. So that means Kyle's left homeless. So what do you think Kyle's going to do?
Well, I think I've got a little bit of insight and insider information in the scene, and I think there is going to be a little bit more shuffling coming on in NA. Now, I'm going to leave it at that, but I think there will be opportunities, and maybe some of these teams that we think are solid, they might, given some free agents that will become available, will be able to make a few more moves. So Kyle, I don't see what he could do right now. I don't know if there's right now. Ozzy is also homeless. He doesn't have a teammate because of the Prime situation, him not being old enough to compete. There are some, Nugs was a player from Foremost who's available. There's some notable free agents, but really there's nothing clear about where Kyle could go next, unless he can convince Waffle to team up.
Yeah, which is like, because Waffle has a lot of schooling to do, but he's definitely a solid player, and it's like, Waffle, like, even without practice, or like as much practice, is still a top free agent, so teams would want to pick him up. It's just, does he want to play,
Exactly.
It's just one of those. So we'll see what happens with Waffle, but but these teams are looking pretty solid, and these teams are joining teams like Double Tap, Vex, Mocket, and teams like that, all fighting for that top four. A failure to launch is in there as well. So should be interesting. So, all right, James, here we go. RLCS NA predictions.
Okay, yeah.
I want to hear your top four that are going to make it to RLCS 3 months from now. I want you to fortune tell what teams are making it and why.
All right. Well, let me look into my crystal ball here.
Okay.
And I'll start with.
All right. So when you say the teams, then I will say like I agree or disagree as well. So.
Okay. All right. Then I'll start with the teams I think that are most likely to make it in. Number one, I think if the Cosmic Super Team happens, even you guys with your current lineup, I would put Cosmic as my top pick for making it in. To the RLCS.
I can't argue with that.
and right tied with them, and I will not take anything away from KOU. I also think right now they are number one in NA. There's nobody else that's competing. Everything about the NA Super Team is still rumors. KOU undisputably number one right now. I think they are also a lock for the RLCS.
Like, and Kings has that thing of they're just super consistent too. Like, I don't see them not making groups in either of these cases. So I see them breezing through groups because they just beat everyone. Like, the only time they lose here or there is against Cosmic. That's pretty much it. They just beat everyone. So Kings and Cosmic for sure. Like I have as locks as well.
Now, here's where I might start to diverge from you a little bit. But I think that this is not necessarily a lock, but I think it is a team that has a very, very good shot. And what I put them at my number 3 spot is failure to launch. So you might disagree, but I think Gino and Zane and Sid, those guys have proven time and time again that they are top players. I've had to play against them. They are really good. I would put them at my number 3 spot.
So it's tough because there's so much mix-up happening that other teams are coming up. And, like, failure, it's weird. Because when they made the Pro League, I was like, don't sleep on them. Did they have a chance to make playoffs? And then they did. And they made playoffs basically because Gambit didn't play when they played Creamsicle. So it's tough because at the same time, like, yeah, they were underrated, but now I think they're actually overrated. So I think their mechanics are just not as sound as some of these other players that are making teams. Now, their teamwork is great, but it just depends. Will these other, like, pickup teams, like, get that teamwork set? So, and also, like, a Geno Cop, he's great. And then I think Sid might be their weak link, maybe by a little bit. Like, I've seen him have some weird plays, but again, this is 3 months from now, and like I haven't seen them play in a month, so I'm not sure like if they're playing together or not right now. I assume they are, so I would put them just outside. Like I would still have them in group stage, but I think when it comes to sets of 5, I just don't see them getting those top 4 spots in groups.
Understandable.
Now,
so I have.
Well,
I have
before
played
you
them
continue,
recently, so
okay,
I think
go
they
ahead.
can. I think they can do it, but that's the beauty of Rocket League right now is there are so many teams on the cusp right now.
So since like I don't agree with your 3rd spot, like I'll just throw a team out there and I'll say mock it.
Okay.
So it's low 5, Insolences, and Rizzo. Now mechanics wise, I think they're great. Like I think this team might be one of the super tilt teams. So I think in a way, best of 3 helps them because you don't have time to tilt because you're just out already. So, like, if it was a longer series, like in group play, like if they start off bad, like say they lose 0-5 to Cosmic, I could see them tilting and finishing 7th or 6th or 8th in groups. But like if they can fix their tilt issue, their personalities and stuff, and keep like upbeat, like they have the mechanics to get there. Plus, these past like 3 weeks, like I've seen them playing together a ton. Like they want this.
Yes.
Like they want to win, and they're one of the few teams that I see playing together all the time. So, like just on that, like just on want, like I think Mocket will make it to the LAN.
I think they certainly have a good shot, and I can see them at your number 3 spot because I have them tied with a couple teams at number 4 for me.
Okay.
So and I agree with you on the consistency factor. I think these guys have they are so good mechanically, and they play very well together sometimes. But there are some times where that just doesn't seem to be meshing for them. But if they can solve for that, they are quite dangerous, and especially because, like you were saying, they play a lot, and they play a lot together. So I will not fight you on that prediction.
Okay. Well, who are your other teams that you have around that area?
So right now, I think selfishly, I'm going to say that I think we have a pretty good shot.
All right, turn off the stream. Turn this off. We got bias here now.
Yeah, right. I know, right? But I've got to say that because if you don't have confidence,
Oh, of course. Like I think you guys are super solid. Like you guys have been playing really well in the Mocket tourneys these past couple of weeks, and you're definitely going to be one of those teams to watch out for, especially in groups. Like when you get to groups, like if you do make it, obviously. Like I think you guys might have a hard time making it to groups. Just because of like the randomness, like I think you could fall prey a little bit easier to some of the weaker teams, but you can also play against the best teams.
Yeah, there's a whole bucket of teams that I feel like could be put here. Like I think Double Tap, us. I think Vex is another team.
Vex, the only problem I think for West Coast, like they're mostly West Coast, I think, so that might hurt them a little bit. That's the only thing I have as a downside for them. So we'll see about that. But
yeah. So I think, like Double Tap, Vex, Mocket, I'd put us all in there as around, and I arguably failure to launch. I think all of us, it's like depending on a given day of how well we're playing, will be a big factor on if we make it or not. I think every one of those teams has the ability to make it in, and it's just going to come down to who shows up on that particular day.
So like I think going into group stage, I think probably both qualifiers, 1 and 2, like well maybe more 1 than 2. We'll probably get like 2 surprise teams that like pull up an upset and just make groups and then just get stomped in group play. Like they'll just have no chance. Like they'll be really far down there. And that's just because I think some of these teams might just lose in a best of 3 situation. Just might have 2 bad games and that's it. But one other team that I want to talk about is again Pluto Set and Quinn. Like if that is a team, they definitely have a good shot at making top 4. But again, they're in that same boat as like the double tap, the Vexes, and the Mockets, and the failure to launches. So,
and we've seen them just starting up. We have seen them play in a few tournaments and stuff, at least with Pluto and Sad, and there's been a consistency question mark. Yep. So, again, though, I agree with you. There's so much possible movement around that 3 and 4 spot in the RLCS for NA.
Yeah, like it's weird because we've been playing this 9 months, and pretty much the entire time in North America, it's been like there's 2 top teams and then everyone else is just like a crapshoot. There's a couple times where we had like 3 or 4 teams in that mix, but generally it's always been 2, and it's always been Cosmic and one other team. So, and we're kind of back at that stage again with Cosmic and Kings are a little bit above everyone else. So it's just like it's gonna be a crapshoot. I hope all these teams make groups so that we do get the best 4 teams, but just getting to groups is going to be a crapshoot. I'm just hoping we have at least 6 of these teams in there to fight it out, and because like I want to see the best 4 from NA go to the LAN because I don't want Europe to just stop us.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
we need to have represent and win.
Yeah. So now. So on that, like I actually want to talk about Europe versus NA and like the stigma that Europe's better versus NA. So obviously we have NA bias here because we're both from NA. Personally, like say you take the 10th best team from Europe, they would probably destroy the 10th best team in NA. There's no question about that. But near the top, I think it's pretty close. Like say we go back to the Pro League, we were literally 2 games away, like 1 game away from having 3 NA in the semifinals. And then 1 more game away from having 2 NA like in the finals, basically. Like it could have very easily been Kings and Cosmic in the finals, or Kings versus Untethered with Cosmic in the finals as well. So it's not as far of a separation when you get to the top. Like I think teams are starting to plateau a bit, and it's making like an any given Sunday type situation. Like at the very top. Like there are tiers though for sure, and there's more Tier 1 Europe teams, I think, than NA, but there is a couple NA in there, at least with Cosmic and Kings. And then maybe Tier 2 of Europe slightly better than Tier 2 in NA, but it's not too big until you get to that, like, Tier 3. Tier 3 just destroys from Europe, like, on NA. Like,
yes.
Well, yeah, because, like, Europe has probably 20 teams that are really solid that could beat a ton of these teams. Like, kind of like Pulsar League. We had Boots and Cats winning the whole thing. Like, Double Tap had a sub for you. But they still beat some of the other pretty good NA teams, and they weren't even ranked in Europe in top 16.
They're like a top 20 over there.
Yeah, exactly. So like Europe definitely has the depth, and I think that's partly just due to Gfinity, because like Europe has 2 tournaments where they play everyone,
and they play in our freaking tournaments all the time because when they're for them to play in our tournaments, they have to stay up late. Which is that's much more likely than people in NA waking up early to play in EU. No one likes waking up early. Staying up late is easy. So they get a lot more tournament play than us.
Yeah, plus with like Gfinity, I used to be on Friday. So a lot of people have work or school, so they couldn't, like North America just couldn't play in Gfinity. Now it's on Saturday. So we'll see if some of these top North American teams actually start playing in both GFIN and then mock it on Saturdays, because like you kind of need that practice now because it's kind of a big deal. Like if you can get that practice against Europe, you might be able to do better like in North America. So
it definitely is a lot harder to play the EU teams. Like
for sure.
And the 2 mock-its ago, or it might have been 3, we had to play Crown and Jewels. We sent them into the losers bracket, which was pretty cool. They ended up coming back and taking us out to go into the grand finals. And then we played, just last week, we played Weedham Girls in the finals. And they're number 1 rated right now in EU. Yep. We took them to 5 games the first series, lost 3-1 the second. But they really are. It is so hard to play against those guys. Like you cannot yeah, very rarely score crappy goals against them,
Yeah,
or even
for sure.
scrappy goals. You really have to work for every single one. So, yeah, it is true. Like maybe we should start waking up early on Saturday and start crapping on their parade in Gfinity.
Yeah,
I
right.
think let's do that.
Yeah, like nothing against Europe, obviously. Like Europe is the better region. Like their top teams are slightly better than the South
Mhm.
American teams, but like I don't think it's as big of a gap as
Mhm.
like a lot of people think it is.
It's a lot
Until
more
you get
parity at the
to
top,
yeah.
but still they have had way more results than
Oh
us,
yeah,
which
for
sucks.
sure, for
Right.
sure.
But we're on our way back. We're NA Pride. Let's do it. RLCS, that is the cake.
Yeah.
So we have a chance to take the cake.
Like
So
one thing that sucked was like Rocket Royale. Like it stopped right when Cosmic and Kings were like back and ready to do thing because like Cosmic got second and Kings got third, and then Rocket Royale was done. So it was like right when the two top teams from North America like are starting to compete well against Europe. It's like oh now it's over. So
yeah,
we had
break
to
time.
wait another 2 months to
Yeah.
play, and like we lost by a game each, but it happens. All right, so on that, let's go to the Q&A section. We actually got some
excellent.
questions from Twitter, and you can see our Twitters up here at Gibbs00 and at James.go. So I threw out a message for some questions, and we got a couple, and then we had a couple more after that, but I was like, I don't want to do too many here, so we'll save some for next week or just ask
Okay.
them again.
Excellent.
So I'll field the first one from D-Pants. So I find the subject of the positive and negative aspects of money coming into Rocket League to be fascinating. Can there be a case where money comes in too fast to disrupt a scene? So there's two aspects to this. It's like friend teams, and then friend teams disbanding to make super teams, like say Cosmic, for example. Now, personally, like I was gonna leave anyway. Like as soon as big money came in, because I want to see our team win. And when you have a chance to win it, like yeah, like find the best players that you can and like go for the money. Like as long as like there's no bad blood or anything like coming out of it, like I don't see a big issue with that. And it's like that is the scene when money comes in. Like there was no scene before the money came in. That was just like, we're having fun. We're playing for $75 on a Sunday for 6 hours. It really didn't matter much. Like, yeah, there was a scene, but it wasn't anything great. Now we're starting to see teams trying to combine and make the best possible teams they can. And I personally love it this way because that's when you get to see the best players playing. So, what about you?
I agree. I think that it can be disruptive in a sense, like you're saying, but people can start getting motivated by money or making decisions based on money, and maybe some friendships could get change or be affected. But again, I don't think that would be different than if money came in slowly or quickly. I think it's just, when there's money on the line, people are going to be motivated to make different decisions because it becomes something that you can actually potentially make a living on. So I don't think that the speed at which it's coming in is necessarily going to be a factor. And I think it's a good thing. I'm very excited to see all this interest and activity around Rocket League.
Yeah, like the one thing that I do like is that we had time to make like a friendly competitive scene. Like pretty much all the pros are friendly with each other and like
Yes.
we're all friends and stuff. So like in a way, it's kind of good to not have money at first because then everyone gets to be friendly. And now when there is big money, well, we're like all friends already, so it's not like so much cutthroat. Like obviously, like everyone wants to win, but so that's the one thing I like about not having money right from the get go is that like friendships get to be created from pros or like respect at least between pros. And I think that is great because like I've watched like the Gears of War scene and like that scene's a shit show. Like I see them at a LAN, like I'll turn on a LAN, like I think it was Gears of War Judgment or something. I'm not sure. So I turn on a LAN and the first thing I see is a team win a round, and they just do like the cutthroat of the animation to the other team, and I'm like, really? And I just turned this off right away.
Yeah,
People
right.
was just yelling at each other all the time. I'm like, guys, you're playing a video game. Like, calm yourself. And it wasn't even for that much money. It's like, come on.
It is kind of cool and you're exactly right. Rocket League, it does feel a little bit different because like all of us players on these teams, like we'll hang out in TeamSpeak, we'll play other games together.
Yeah.
And like, it is a good point of view because coming from the console scene before, it can be a shit show.
Oh,
like
yeah,
people
like shooters
standing
is the
up like,
worst.
what now? What now? I'm flexing on you, bro.
Exactly.
And then
Like,
people
we've
get
both
angry.
played competitive shooters before, and it's just like, come on, guys. Like, you're playing a video game.
Yes.
Like, calm down.
Settle the F down. And
Yeah.
especially with Rocket Soccer Car, we're not going to,
Exactly,
we're not headshotting anybody getting hyped. But
Exactly. Want to field the next one?
Sure. This one is from Mr. Little Thor, who is always hanging out in our streams, which is always awesome, and also
Mod in
hanging
like
out
every
watching.
stream.
Yeah, right. And he's also a regular on the D&D streams put on by Seismic. So he asks, "What do you think, apart from roster changes, is holding back Rocket League as more of a or as a more recognizable esport?"
So I wish I had my wallet here and pull out my ones. It's like it's just money. That's really all like an esport is money. There's really not much else to it. Like once you have money involved, then it becomes recognized as an esport.
Hmm.
I don't
Once
really.
big organizations,
Yeah,
sponsorships, marketing around the teams. Hmm.
exactly. But like that all comes like when Science throws their money in. Now we'll start getting big orgs and we'll get different sponsors and all that stuff. So it really is just about money. Like when iBuy signed us, like they knew that something bigger was gonna come. But because like if we were just doing a $75 tournaments like every week, why would iBuy come in? There's no point.
Hmm.
There's not a lot going on here. So with more viewers, because like Twitch is going to be hosting this, which is awesome. So it's going to be on the front page like all the time. More viewers means more sponsors, means more ads for people, you know,
Hmm.
and all that stuff. So it's really just all about the money. Well, like, once the money's there, then more money flows in on top of that.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
So
So
that pretty much that, and we honestly at RLC and like some of the other streams and stuff, like there's been a lot of activity is in the Rocket League esports scene, and there has been zero money. So like there's
yeah,
been so much passion around this game to keep the scene alive to where we're pulling thousands of viewers when we're playing for hardly any money. So now that there's big money and big marketing firms and things getting behind this, I can't wait to see how much it explodes, because I think we did pretty well as a community to keep Rocket League esports on the map with pretty much no support.
yeah, for sure. Like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, we weren't in like an esport before.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, as like a recognizable, like once you start talking like
Yeah.
bigger games, like Halo
Hmm.
just had a
League of
2.4 million
Legends.
tournament, yeah, stuff like that. It's like you have to have the money for people to be like, oh, let's write like an article about it or whatever. So, yeah, so that's all I mean by that. Like, obviously,
Yes.
like esport how it is now was awesome, but now
Mhm.
it's just gonna get bigger.
Even more awesomer.
Exactly. So the next question comes in from CF Dangerfield. Where do you see the sport in 10 years? Oh, I like that. No esport, just sport.
Oh.
In 10 years, so personally, like I think they'll probably make at least a Rocket League 2 and probably go free to play with Rocket League 2 to like really bump up the numbers of the players, or they just adapt Rocket League into a free to play
Hmm.
situation. Now, 10 years, that might be too long to go from because you know like games die or whatever. Like,
Well, I mean, with the HTC Vive, man, like the Steam VR, who knows what kind of games we'll be playing in 10 years. So,
yeah, exactly. So maybe I'm thinking like we'll say 5 years or something in the future, but like I can see Rocket League becoming more free to play, and hopefully the esports scene catches on just because it's so simple to watch. It's more like a real sport that's like, all right, like if the ball goes in the basket, it's a point. It's like,
yeah, we
it's not
might
that hard.
see, and it'll be interesting to see the evolution of professional esports
Mhm.
as we move on, because like our like parents' generation and the generation before us, when they are watching ESPN, they're watching football and all that stuff. I don't think it's too far fetched to in 10 years esports will be integrated into ESPN and things like that,
Yeah.
to where it will be on all the TV shows and people will be talking about it at their desks, like Pardon the Interruption and Around the Horn and things like that. Esports will be part of the conversation moving forward. So hopefully that's where it is in 10 years. I know as me, I'm like 26 now.
Mhm.
If you're going to want me to watch your sports stuff, it's got to have some esports in it.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's basically like the changing of the guard. Basically, like it's a new generation coming up, and like our generation now, like it's still fairly new Twitch and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Like within like 5 years or whatever.
Hmm.
But in 10 years from now, then like anyone that was watching it, say anywhere from 10 to 20, is now 20 to 30. So that's gonna be like the big viewer numbers.
Hmm.
But of course, like old age, like people are living forever, so it might take a little bit longer just because people are set in their ways and stuff like that. Like some of the
Hmm.
bigger higher ups at like ESPN and stuff might stay around for a little bit longer, but like I could see it happening. Like in
Hmm.
roughly 10 years, like we'll definitely see some esports on ESPN for sure. I just wonder how big it'll be, but like I think it'll just continue to get bigger and bigger because that's what people want to see.
Hmm.
So like around like our age group, or even like below us, like around 18 and stuff. Like everyone's watching Twitch. Like barely anyone is watching TV anymore. So who knows? Maybe there won't be like
Yeah.
an ESPN anymore because it'll all be on Twitch and
Or
people will
it'll
just be
all be
watching
online. Yeah, from the
Yeah,
app.
exactly. People will just be watching Twitch instead of cable. So
Yep.
who knows? All right, next question we got from True Soldier. What improvements do you want to see in the Rocket League sequel?
You want to take a shot at it?
So, like I said before, like I think a free to play is the way to go and more cosmetic based. Honestly, I don't know what they would add. Like, I don't want to see car stats personally. Like, besides like minor tweaks on whatever they have now, but personally, like I would like to see like an even playing field. Like, I do want to see map variation become more of a big feature in like a Rocket League sequel, which it seems like they're just going to do that in Rocket League anyway. But I'm not sure what else. Like, what do you think?
Well, I want to slap True Soldier for even talking about a sequel at this point. Okay. So I'm going to change the way I answer your question in that I don't want to see a sequel for a long time. What I want to see is some particular features added into Rocket League right now.
Okay.
I would love to see, and maybe you can frame it if it's in a sequel, that would be cool. I would like to see it in this game now, but I would love to see a community workshop. I would like people to be able to make their own maps, and be able to do some cool custom game modes. And then I would also like to see more done with in-game items. I would like community created items to have an opportunity to make it into the game. And I would also like to see in-game marketplace, which, you could have like team packs for iBUYPOWER or whoever, and purchases from those go towards funding the esports prize pool. I would love to see more of that marketplace stuff to help make the game more sustainable and make, be able to fund those community prize pools and things like that, but also be able to have a little bit of more spice added in, because you never know what people from the community are going to add in or suggest to the game. So I would love to see those types of improvements in Rocket League right now, but if it had to wait to a sequel, I would like to see it in the sequel, but I don't want to see a sequel for years. I don't want to think that there will be a Rocket League sequel for at least another 3 years. I don't want to see it. I want to see more, like, I don't want a new Rocket League every year. I want to see continued investment in the current game and the current platform, kind of like what we see with Counter-Strike Go.
Yeah, like I could even see just like Rocket League 1 going free to play. Like I think it has to go free to play to get that Steam Workshop to really matter. Like CS:GO is kind of a different beast because it is a Valve owned thing. But I think it would have to go free to play and then get Steam Workshop support, which would be amazing. And plus, like CS:GO, they do skins based on teams, but then they give the profits, I think most of the profits, to the teams themselves, which would mean bigger teams coming in and be like, oh, now we can actually see like a return on investment. So that would help a ton. And plus, it would make players earn more money because like they're the ones keeping the game alive because people are watching them on TV, or on Twitch. So just ways to give back to the community, but let the community also give back by going into the Steam Workshop would be awesome. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we got 2 more.
Okay.
You have to go soon, right? You have to go in like 9 minutes?
Yes, Mocket is starting soon, so.
Okay, go ahead. Field the next one.
All right, so abstract_logic2 asks, should Rocket Labs be a part of the RLCS, or will it make it less accessible for any new viewers?
Okay, so everyone knows, or most people know, that I want as many different maps as possible. I hate that it's only urban. I hated it in SARP. Everyone voted urban. I'm like, God damn it, I want to play Cosmic, or I want to play Stadium, or I want to play actually, no, I hated Wasteland, but but still, I want different maps. Sure, like the skill level might decrease a little bit because like it's harder to read some bounces, but teams will get better and better by practicing on all those maps. But it just makes for interesting storylines of like, all right, here we go. Flipside's playing Underpass. They're godlike on this map. Can like Cosmic like take a game off on this map? Oh, like Cosmic's really good on Utopia, so they're gonna choose that one next. And because there's pros and cons to every single map. Plus, like I don't think for viewers necessarily it matters. Like it's a ball and it goes in a goal.
Yep.
It really doesn't matter. Like I even want the basketball map to make it into ranked because it's just a goal that's flat instead. Like, wait.
You're
okay.
insane.
How am I insane? Like,
okay, well,
like if the physics are the same, why not?
All right. Well, whether it's RLCS or ranked or anything like that, I would like there to be a communication that it will be in there so that it can get practiced before you have to perform. Because one thing that Like right now, me and my team, we're not playing any Rocket Labs. If it's a part of RLCS, I would be fine with that, but I would need way an advanced notification, because if they are a part of RLCS, then you will see some pretty crappy, ugly looking Rocket League, because people aren't used to the bounces. They're not sure how to play on this map as effectively. So everything will be very reactionary as opposed to anticipatory. So
so I should have
if
prefaced
that's even a
this.
freaking word, I don't know.
Yeah, like I should have prefaced this by saying like I don't want basketball in the RLCS this time. Like I want it when like these maps are out for a while and we get like a month notice at least of like, hey, these maps are going to be included in this next event. Make sure you practice. Like I don't want to throw people onto them, but I do want to see them get move into ranked and stuff like that. Like once Rocket Labs is in ranked,
I can't take too much change. I came in at Rocket League. I didn't play all those old maps.
Yeah, so
all
it's
I
tough,
ever know is DFH.
Yeah. So like they are starting to do that with Wasteland, but it seems like they're going in that direction, because like I've heard rumors that Cosmic is coming to Rocket Labs kind of soon. They're adding this basketball map. They just added 3 new maps for Rocket Labs, so they're obviously going in this direction to make it more diverse. They just have to communicate with the community like, hey, we're going this direction, so start practicing.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to start playing these eventually, but yeah, they have to give a heads up before they're included in tournaments for sure. But I hope they are, because then like map picks and bans will actually matter. Because like that's how shooters help. Like if shooters were played on one map, like besides CSGO for a while was only on Dust 2 or whatever. But now even CSGO has more maps and stuff like that, so... You need more maps to just keep it fresh, I think, personally.
Yep.
Okay. Last question, and then we'll get you out of here, James.
Okay.
Shalthis. Go ahead. You take this one.
With the inevitable rise of the competitive scene, do you anticipate orgs signing more individually skilled players or relying more on pre-existing teams?
So I think, for the most part, maybe like skilled players will get noticed more, and then they'll combine and make teams on their own. Like, I don't see an org just being like, oh, we're just going to pick these 3 guys up and make a team. Because like, teamwork is a much different thing in Rocket League than it is than just playing, like, just fielding 3 people. Now, there are players that are really good with teamwork that can probably just be thrown on a team and do fine. But you don't know that until you throw 3 people like together and make that team. So you would have to see them perform at least a little bit before.
I think orgs are always going to be looking for teams, but I do think, and maybe this wasn't part of his question, but I can see companies like SteelSeries and Razer and, other big notable companies, iBUYPOWER, whoever, I can see them sponsoring one specific player.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think orgs that are having teams will always be looking at the pre-existing teams and want teams that have results.
Yeah, for sure. Like individual sponsors will definitely happen. Like the big one is Crow, because obviously he's the most popular on Twitch and stuff like that. So like sponsors like that will definitely happen. But yeah, I don't see an org just coming in like, all right, we're gonna field
one
you.
person.
Yeah, and then be like, here, let's grab these other 2. Like no, like they're gonna have to show some amount of results beforehand. But generally, big orgs are only gonna come in if you make that land, probably. Like once you know that you made the land, they're like, all right, let's sign them. Or if they do really well in qualifier 1, maybe some come in then. But before that, I just don't see it because there's really no point. But yeah, so that'll do it for the DFH locker room. We got one more question. This comes in from Gibbs. All right, so when will James put the moves on Gibbs at PAX? If he goes to PAX. Because me and James are actually going to share a room, share a bed, because I also have 2 other friends coming. So what night? So we got Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. Which night is it going to be? How many drinks are going to be involved?
Well, everyone's going to be pretty happy the Friday night after everyone's getting there. We're all going to be hanging out playing Rocket League. So that would be my best bet is Friday night.
Friday night.
We'll have to get there first.
Yeah, like I'll have to make a good pillow wall, and we'll see when you break it down. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But thanks, James, for joining me, and thanks, guys. If you made it through the hour and 23 minutes this thing went on, that was a long one. But if you guys have any comments about it, just let us know in the comments. And like this is like an evolving thing. So whatever you guys want to see, let us know, and we'll take the feedback back to the higher ups, because there's only me and James, but whatever. Exactly. Right, but thanks a lot, James, and we'll see you guys next time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Gibbs.
Later, man.
See ya.